$7.25 an hour in many parts of this country is absolutely criminal.
This is the first of the month. I ain't got no haircut or nothing. I can't afford it. I can't.
I've been living in my car with my 2 cats for several months.
I've been homeless for the last 7 months.
If you want to know what it was like growing up in 1970, the average apartment today should be $556.
Work jobs. Things that make me so uncomfortable.
If a full-time job can't cover basic rent, food, and healthcare, that's not a worker problem. That's a broken system problem.
It's not you. You're not crazy. If you feel overwhelmed today with just life, you're not alone. I was having a conversation the other day with my friend girl, and we were just talking about how different things were back then versus how it is now, as far as like inflation, the expense to income ratio, and how back then it was a lot easier to have a one income household, but now it's just really hard. And she gave me the most random stat, y'all, out of nowhere, y'all. She was just like, girl, did you know up to 80% of society is just burned out? And honestly, I really wasn't even surprised by that, but at the same time, it's really sad. You know, why is that? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, when she told me that, I was curious, so I googled it. Is it true that up to 80% of people are burnt out? It says yes, it's true that multiple studies, particularly in 2025 and 26, show high burnout rates approaching or exceeding 75 to 80% in certain sectors, age groups, or studies. Recent data indicates 66% of U.S. employees face burnout, while 82% of employees are at risk of burnout, often driven by unsustainable workloads, hustle culture, and poor mental health resources. A 2025 study found that 66% of American employees feel burned out, with rates soaring to over 80% for workers aged 18 to 34. We were just talking about this. It says why the rates are high. Workplace demands. 24% of workers cite having too much work and not enough time. Productivity anxiety. A study mentioned on the American Institute of Stress found that 80% of employees report productivity anxiety, leading to reduced well-being. And of course, add in the pressure of hustle culture. And so in a nutshell, a lot of people are burned out. Prices are up, inflation is real, everything is changing so fast. The problem is we live in a society that prioritizes capitalism over our well-being. And ironically, you would think that well-being would be prioritized a bit more, considering that majority of the population that makes up the economy is the working class and consumers. Because without people like us, essentially there would be no economy. What's up, everybody? My name is Chastity Faye, and welcome to Project Freedom. As a kid, I could never answer the famous question of like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I could never answer the question. My classmates had an answer. They'll be like, a lawyer, a doctor, you know, a police officer, a firefighter. They had answers. I never had an answer. At least not the one that they expected. And when I got a little older, people would ask like, what's your dream job? What do you want to do for a living? What's your dream job? And I would just be like, the question automatically implies that I want a job. Don't gaslight me. I never really thought about a specific job title growing up, like what I wanted to do as far as like work. I just knew that I wanted freedom, even as a kid. Like I just love being able to have choice and just have options and be able to just do more. I spent years working so many 9-to-5s, y'all. I have worked all different types of jobs. I've worked in so many different fields, and while I'm grateful for the experience, I just never found fulfillment in any of them. I've never said about any job I've had, like, I want to stay here the rest of my life. You know, I want to retire at 65, you know, assuming I live to see 65. So I'm 27 now, but if y'all see my resume, it looked like a Walmart receipt. The last job I had was a customer service job. So this guy asked me, he was like, what do you do for a living? I just said, oh, I do customer service. But what I wanted to say was, oh, I do customer service and I get called everything but a child of God. And I have to sit there and pretend like a robot with no feelings just to protect my livelihood. How about you? At all of the jobs I've ever worked, after a while, I started getting this feeling like, am I going to be doing this the rest of my life? I just don't see why we should have to choose between making money, keeping a roof over our head, paying bills, doing what we need to do, and our well-being, like our peace of mind, right? People are clocking in for the money. That's it. Like, it's so crazy because I know we probably know a few people, if we know anybody, that actually loves their job. Dreading going to work the next day should not be normalized. If you work Monday through Friday, for example, and you get what's called the Sunday Scaries, because I read this book called 2 Week Notice by Amy Porterfield. She calls it the Sunday Scaries. I used to dread waking up for work the next day. I couldn't even enjoy my Sunday. I used to just dread the next day. because I knew I had to get up and do it all over again. Nobody should have to feel that way about their job. The last job I was working doing customer service, during training, people were dropping during training like flies. It was really like boot camp. And the craziest part about it, y'all, a snowstorm could hit the whole country like it did recently, and all the other companies, all the normal companies are closed. But your job is open. Your car sitting outside under 8 feet of snow, and your boss calling you trying to see where you at. At that point, I'm already on LinkedIn and Indeed filling out applications because with all the jobs I've had, I did learn a very valuable lesson. I learned that we all follow somebody's system every single day, whether it's someone else's or our own. When you show up to a job, you follow their system. They decide when you eat, when you rest, when you work. They decide what you do at work. They decide specifically how you work because they teach you, they train you because it's a system and they have it set up a certain way so that you can fulfill what their system's purpose is. You get up to do the work for a job that you don't even want to go to in the first place. You show up, you honor that system, but you don't show up for you the same way. When you're being held accountable, the work gets done. When you know you're getting paid, the work gets done. When you have something to lose, like the job, the work gets done. What if you showed up for you the same way? What if you put that same energy of accountability into the next 90 days of your life for you, not for your job, not for your spouse, not for your friends or family, not for anybody else, not your kids, you? What do you want? If you have to trade your peace of mind to keep a roof over your head, then it's time to reassess. And like I said, the question we should be asking now is, why can't we have both? And this is where Project Freedom comes in. I stopped playing the game of chasing money. I started building a system. I heard someone say this and I love it. It's a quote and it goes, "System is an acronym and it stands for saving yourself time, energy, and money." We need to stop moving without purpose. We need to stop letting people design our lives and start designing it for ourselves. Everything starts with clarity. There's a verse in the Bible that says to write the vision and make it plain so that he may run who reads it. If you can get it out on paper and see it clearly, half the work is done. Here at Project Freedom, we focus on foundation work because that's the most important work. Ask yourself, what do you want and why do you want it? So obviously, guys, we know there's a ton of noise, right? There's doom scrolling, social media, there's news, there's just so much noise coming from every other direction. There's people in your lives. Some of us have people in our lives that we shouldn't have in our lives. There's a lot of noise that can be easily pulling us in so many different directions. So I built a 5-step framework to quiet the storm. It starts with a brain dump and then it ends with a reflection. I put a free daily reset checklist in the description box and it covers 5 small parts. So the first part is a brain dump, and a brain dump is basically where you dump all of your thoughts out on paper. That can be anything, no matter what it is. It can be something from the past, the future you're worried about, something you can't control from the past, something at the moment that needs to be taken care of that might seem daunting. Just put anything on there, okay? The next section is goal clarity. It's where you'll just define your goal for the day. So it's a daily thing, okay? So you would just figure out what that thing is for you for that day, and you would write it down and be very clear. The next section is a prioritized time block, and that's basically where you'll schedule certain times for the things that you have prioritized for your day. So it's very helpful to have so you'll be able to see what you're doing and you don't get sidetracked. And the cool thing about it is they're all in synergy. So for example, you would take what's already from the brain dump that you dump. More than likely you have what you're trying to get done in the brain dump, and you can just take that and put it over in the time block section. So the prioritized task list and the time block are 2 different sections, but they do work together. And lastly, there is the review and reflect section. So that would just be to track your progress. You would ask yourself some questions like, what did you accomplish? What could you have done differently? Then you would just use those insights to improve your day tomorrow. The seed always goes before the fruit. And this is something that I've been practicing for years, also with the work that I have done. I've also had experience with organizing, planning, and strategizing, reverse engineering, creating income generating assets, also maintaining them, designing systems around those as well. And it started with clarity. It is free and you can download yours in the description. Now, if you want, you can draw this out yourself for free, but if you want to skip the guesswork, I did build something else. I designed a full Freedom Architect toolkit, and it's basically a complete system in a box. It includes guided prompts within each section so you're not staring at a blank page, and there are specific questions within each section so you're not wrecking your brain on what to put where. There's also an addition of a 90-day vision staircase. What that is a reverse engineer template designed to turn your big goals into tiny tiny, bite-sized daily habits. Also, in each section, there's a 2 to 3 minute audio guide with my voice personally guiding you through each section. So basically, I'm just spectating and I'm just being your cheerleader. This is including everything in the daily reset checklist, but it's also being expanded on and broken down. So with this, basically you would just be filling in the blanks. This kills decision fatigue and it takes a lot of the guesswork out and brings a lot of stillness to the chaos. Well, Chastity, how much is it? We talking about the economy. I got you. I know. 20 bucks. 20 bucks. The price of a pizza. If you want the full Freedom Architect Toolkit, it's also in the first link in the description. But this is the very system that I use to change my life. Because when you figure out what you want, it's easier to filter out what you don't want. Stop wasting your energy. Order always precedes wealth. It's literally half the work. You know what I learned, y'all? 6 months will pass whether you do the work or not. It's gonna pass. You might as well spend them building something for you. Nobody ever stumbled to the top of the mountain. If you guys found this video helpful, do me a favor, leave a like and leave a comment with any thoughts that you have. It'll help reach more people in the algorithm. And if you guys want to see more content like this on your feed, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a video. My team and I do post weekly and I do hope to see you again. Join the Freedom family. We are a family here, so we got to help each other up. If you guys have any tips and advice in the comments, share it with each other, okay? Let's build this foundation together. And I will see you in the next video. I'm out.